Now, One Piece chapter 1065. Now, lore piece is back, and this was something that I kind of saw coming ever since we got the idea that Egghead is an island of the future. Because in the One Piece world, the future and the past correlate to each other. Just like we had prophecies of certain things happening in the future, Kaido's defeat, the opening of Wano, the birth of Shirahoshi, people had knowledge about certain things going to happen in the future. And so having all these elements of things linking the past and the future together, it makes a lot of sense that Oda would do this in this arc as well, considering the name of the island. And that's what we got in this chapter, especially relating to the Void Century itself. And this honestly sparks a lot of ideas and theories, that could come out of this. Even though there wasn't really a lot going on in the chapter, there's a lot of little details that you can really go in depth as far as you want to, honestly, at this point, because this is a crazy reveal and a lot of possibilities can come out of this, because now we're really delving into lore piece, right? The Void Century. Questions that have been kept from us ever since the beginning of the story, we're finally getting closer and closer as each chapter comes out, and it's eventually going to come to a point where everything is going to get revealed. But it seems like this is a starting point as to what really happened during the Void Century, or at least a hint as to what happened. We're obviously not going to get the full story because we know that Robin has a role to play with the poneglyphs, so it makes sense. But this is a cool inclusion here because science is kind of broken, and we're seeing that ancient civilization, which more than likely is the ancient kingdom, had this type of technology, and even better, it seems like humanity, or VegaPunk specifically, is trying to catch up to that technology. So that's insane. So the possibilities from this chapter are endless, right? And I think for the most part, Oda has been incredible ever since Wano ended, because every chapter so far has had something of value. So I think this is Oda at his peak. I think this part of the story is the part Oda really wanted to draw ever since he started One Piece. That's why everything that we're getting here is amazing. And I guess you could also contribute that to the idea of this being the final saga as well. He eventually needs to wrap things up in terms of a narrative and story perspective, so it makes a lot of sense that, we're getting the good stuff now as we come closer and closer to the finale of One Piece, or the end of One Piece. And I feel like Oda has kept so many mysteries that it feels like we're gonna get a cluster of reveals back to back, because Oda has been holding back this whole time, and that's obviously going to culminate in a stretch of insane chapters that we might get in the future. We're starting to see that trend right now, so this might actually keep going. But again, before we keep going, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Let's go for 500 likes, and subscribe if you're new here. Now let's start from the beginning. Now this chapter starts off with the Straw Hats getting into VegaPunk's lab, and on their way there they encounter a Seraphim, and this one in particular is the Jinbei Seraphim. And I think this chapter confirms that all Seraphims have different aspects of their abilities relating to the original, because here we see that this Jinbei, apart from the Lunarian base stats and the light laser that all the other Seraphims have, he also possesses the swim fruit, which is something that we know that Senior Pink had. But obviously this is some sort of copy or a variation. We're not sure entirely, but it does seem like he has the ability to replicate Paramecia as well. And it's almost like a perfect combination for this Jinbei Seraphim, because he's a fishman, and having the swim fruit really enhances his ability on land, because now he can turn the environment into a water-like substance. So here we're seeing that the Seraphims are no joke in terms of what they offer, in terms of potential and power. And we have to remember that these are the kid versions, and it does seem like they have the capability to grow as well, becoming much stronger with the skill sets that they have. So this is insane. And we also see how one fares against the Straw Hats, in which for the most part, granted not all of the crew was there, but that Jinbei Seraphim was very dominant against the Straw Hats, where for the most part this encounter here was a stalemate, honestly, because that Jinbei really did put in work. So we're seeing from a combative standpoint that the Seraphims have the potential to be top tier, and we already kind of saw that when we saw two of them invade Amazon Lily, right? And we even had one clash with Blackbeard. And so the potential for the Seraphims is insane, and it seems like they're only going to get stronger and stronger. And there was also another mind-boggling reveal that we get in this chapter, and it correlates to things that we always had questions about when it came to the Seraphims, in which how is VegaPunk able to replicate their abilities? It's one thing to make a Mihawk clone, but it's another thing to have them possess the same abilities as the original itself, right? Especially in terms of skill sets that aren't earned through DNA, because we know that the Mihawk Seraphim possesses a high level of swordsmanship, and that's a question that we've always had. And in this chapter, they essentially reveal what it is, and this is a mind-boggling reveal. And it is mentioned here by Punk 4 that lineage factor actually stores some of our recollections and capabilities, which essentially suggests that your fighting ability could be related to your lineage or your DNA, which is very interesting because Oda has always highlighted lineage in a lot of characters in which their parent is powerful, therefore his kid must be powerful as well. This is why the world government was hell-bent on killing Ace, right? They didn't want Roger's kids to survive because they knew more than likely he would become a threat to the world government in some way, shape, or form. And we're seeing in this chapter that there's a reason as to why they took those efforts. And apparently it does seem like lineage factor is indeed not just DNA, but potentially something that holds a person's recollections and capabilities. And this could explain why the Monkey D family is a very notorious one, because their lineage is just so crazy where everyone who's a part of that family was a fighter or something, right? So lineage factor, more than just DNA. This is a massive reveal, and it could go into a lot of different aspects and elements in the story and things that makes a lot of sense when you go back. So this was a very interesting reveal, and the potential here is just insane. Now the scuffle eventually ended with Shaka coming into play, stopping the Jinbei Seraphim, and I've got to say that I really like Shaka's design. He seems more like a revolutionary the more that I see more of him. And again, his ties to Dragon makes a lot of sense when you think about that. And it does seem like there is a hierarchy system within the Vegapunks, whereas Shaka is the highest, therefore all orders that come from him has the most priority. I do also want to mention that we do also get to see the other Vegapunks as well, with that being Punk 3, 4, and 6. Now 3 and 4 seem like they're robots completely, but 6 seems to be like a human, just like Shaka and Lilith, but they could still be cyborgs in some way, shape, or form, but just more so in a robot's body. I actually thought we were going to spend more time revealing the other Vegapunks, but I'm glad that we got out of that now, right? We know all of them now, so we're moving forward. Now, towards the end of the chapter, we get some crazy reveal, and here Shaka mentions that Egghead Island is actually more so an island of the past, in which its technology is very reminiscent to that of a specific kingdom that existed 900 years ago. Now, of course, the timeline here is the Void Century, and more than likely they are talking about the Ancient Kingdom, whose true name we don't know yet. So that might be something that may actually get revealed here, the Ancient Kingdom's true name. But here it essentially confirms that the Ancient Kingdom was highly technologically advanced, and this makes a lot of sense. And this was something that I already talked about in one of my previous videos, in which if the Ancient Kingdom was capable of creating something like Pluton, which we know is a ship that is more than likely is technologically advanced and has the power to destroy islands, it makes a lot of sense that the people who created them were also advanced as well. And this also puts some spotlight on who Vegapunk truly is, because he may have ties to the Ancient Kingdom or is from the Ancient Kingdom. There's a possibility that he could be a descendant of the pioneers back then, which would explain why he's also very smart. And it's sort of leading me towards the idea that Vegapunk more than likely is a D, because now that he's linked to the Ancient Kingdom, there's certain expectations that you should already have, right? Because now the headcanon that we're sort of rolling out with is that the Ancient Kingdom is essentially the stronghold, or was the stronghold, of the D clan. And so if you're a part of that kingdom, more than likely you were a part of the clan. And so Vegapunk having technology that is reminiscent to the Ancient Kingdom, you kind of have to tie it to the D clan as well, right? But this could be all wrong. We don't necessarily know where Vegapunk is from, but we have a lot more clues to work with now. And of course, his ties with Dragon makes this even more plausible. I think more than likely Vegapunk does know what happened during the Void Century, but even then he might be missing some key elements as to the whole story, right? Depending on where Oda wants this to go. But this explains a lot as to why the world government is currently trying to assassinate Vegapunk, because now we know that he's someone that is lore heavy in the world, right? And it would seem that something happened recently where they chose that it would be better for him not to be around. And perhaps because the world is becoming more and more chaotic, they feel like Vegapunk is like a threat now in this time and stage of the world. But now I definitely see Vegapunk becoming an ally. As to whose faction, we're not sure, because we know that he's already working with Dragon. So his allegiance may be with the revolutionaries, but in the grand scheme of things, definitely against the world government. So it's gonna play out towards the Straw Hat's favor in the end. But overall, this was a very good chapter. Again, not a lot happened in this chapter, but the little details that you get here sparks a lot of discussions, right, and theories. So in terms of theory crafting and all of that stuff, this chapter was massive. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Comment down below what you guys think. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit the bell if you want to get notified for future content. You can follow me on Twitter at Ferrispace. But it's Ferris, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.